Aloha. Aloha. As the music was playing, I took some time to browse the little screens here. It's so good to see you guys again. Mahalo. Thank you for joining us today as we honor the Uhane thoracic vertebrae, the 12 actions, with an emphasis on really honoring and, you know, applying some focus and care on this thing called the thymus, which is inherently very masculine. It's located, within that thoracic complex. And so, understanding the secretions of that gland is so important right now. Oftentimes, when I feel into the thoracic vertebrae, or any of the structure of the vertebrae and the organs that are in close proximity of the specific vertebrae, such as the thoracic vertebrae has like this voltage, it has like this electrical shock, right? And so anything that is near the thoracic is going to be activated as well. And so it's so beautiful that when we can attend to just the spinal cord, a lot of magical things are going to happen within the entirety of the complex of our human body. And specifically with the glands, the endocrine system, which seems very important. I'll go over with all of you again, sort of like my own musings, right? About how the ferns have steered me into this idea that we are likely in a type of cataclysm where we are experiencing dehydration, human dehydration, which is a mutation. It's still sort of like on the table as far as, is that bad or is that good? Like, are we mutating the endocrine system, the human glands, because they're no longer needed? You hear so many people talk about, transitioning into predominant crystalline or light body, what you will. And then perhaps the endocrine system is non-essential at that point. Yes, and there might be something erroneous, some destruction that's happening to our endocrine system because we might be shifting into a different kind of mutation called transhumanism. And so we really need to consider all of this. I have with us today Kelly Kulala, our beloved Kapuhi Nano Kauikalai is actually enjoying a family reunion right now, I think in Waimanalo. And Kulala is here to support this ceremony. I'll be resourcing a lot of Kulala's ike as we navigate the thoracic vertebrae and the thymus gland. Kulala, would you like to just say hello to the Lahui?
Aloha kahako. It's so great to be here with you today and to receive the invitation to come and be in TAY, in the HOE, and really be in the pu'uvai, in the center in the conversation with the thymus today. And so I'm so grateful to be here present with you all and with myself as we activate this heart center and really work on the incantation and the vibration within this thoracic chamber and the thoracic pico of the Uhane in the Hoi. So grateful to be here with you today. Aloha ma.
Mahalo, sis. Glad that you are with us today. As is our protocol, before we go into our discussion and our exploration, I would love to assemble all of us together, and I do that by guiding us through the protocol of Ku'like. Ku'like is the ancient Mu greeting. In the time of Mu, this is how we would approach one another in a very specific placement of our hands. And it would represent the holistic self. And so I would love to guide us through the process of Kulike. Friends, the first thing that we may do in Kulike is we may choose to land. Land. Come into sensation of your physical body, breathe into your body, distribute that oxygen through the entire body. Land. When I feel into landing, I am removing myself of fixations of a past and cravings for a future. I deem this current moment sufficient. For me, there is nothing more interesting than this current moment. At my huelo, my tailbone, I feel that very generous tug. This tug, also known as Ute Taumaha, sacred gravity, is connecting me to the iron crystal core of this planet. I remember that my relationship with this planet and with gravity is not a punishment, nor is it an imprisonment. I remember that this has been designed in mutual consent, and we are the engineers. Let's land. Only in this landing can we make contact with very important energy centers. I'll ask that we lift our right hand. In lifting our right hand, we are in recognition of Uhane energetics, thoracic vertebrae, the 12 actions. Let's restore Uhane to its rightful throne, that of the Pu'uvai or the heart. Let's place that right hand over our heart. Let's you and I take a deep breath in through the nose and hold. Holding this breath, applying this oxygen in the pu'uvai. Let's fill this chamber with oxygen. Let's be generous with Uhane. Enliven the 12 actions and exhale through the mouth. In this exhalation, feeling the relaxation of the internal masculine, the relaxation of the 12 actions, removed of competition, comparisons, urgency and belligerency, restored as the hero. Here in the Pu'uvai, I offer a mantra of our hero. Pa vale Pu'uvai. I open my heart wider. Mahalo. Uhane, thoracic vertebrae. I love you. Keeping our right hand over our Pu'uvai, let's now make contact with our Unihipili, the three within the three, coccyx, sacral, lumbar. Let's lift our left hand. Let's restore Unihipili to its rightful throne, that of the Na'au. Let's place that left hand over our sacral. Let's you and I take a deep breath in through the nose and hold. Holding this breath, applying this oxygen in the Na'au. Let's fill this chamber with oxygen. Let's be generous with Unihipili, coccyx, sacral, lumbar. Sip one more breath. And exhale through the mouth. In this exhalation, feeling the proliferation of the internal feminine, removed of censorship, neglect, condemnation, non-essential sacrifice, restored as the leader. Here in the Na'au, I offer a mantra of our leader. Uamalu. I am safe. I decide. Mahalo. Unihipili, coccyx, sacral, lumbar. I love you. And now that our hands are in the proper position known as kulike, a moment to enjoy this right relation of coccyx, sacral, lumbar, thoracic, the leader and the hero, Unihipili and Uhane. Lahui, there is recognition that the right relation of Unihipili and Uhane is the exalted 7 cervical vertebrae Aumakua. We honor this kulike by uttering 3 times, Alohama, Alohama, Alohama. Mahalo. When I say La Hui, it literally means circle of light. And that is a way to which, in modern Hawaiians and ancient Hawaiians, that's what we would call an assembly of people. And so whenever you hear me say La Hui, that refers to all of us, and it literally means circle of light. And when we activate the EV cool mo'o, right, that voltage, we are electricity, We become that light. Before you can spiritualize, we must first materialize. And so as we attend to the EV Kua Mo'o, to the spinal cord, we're coming into full maturation of the materialization of the self so that we then qualify for spiritualization. That's why, I played that song, In and Through the Body, In and Through the Body. There's another protocol that I would love to honor. I would love to honor the tones of the EV Kua Mo'o, the spinal cord. And I'll remind all of us what's happening when I do this, right? So the 33 vertebrae, there are 33 codes. You know what I just said? I said we come into proper materialization. There are 33 codes that can distinguish and also support us in what exactly is a proper materialization. And these 33 codes represent the tools that we have not only access to, but we must accomplish in our lives in order to fully materialize so that we are compatible and qualify for spiritualization. I would love to honor the tones by addressing them in threes. When I utter these tones, the first time that I utter the tone, it's to unlock the iwi kuomo'o. So unbeknownst to many, many of us, to me, for a majority of my life, my spinal cord was locked. You're right. If we live in suspicion, right? If we've experienced trauma, you're likely gonna lock. That's kind of like I would even say a rational response. So don't think you've done anything wrong when your iwi kuomo'o is completely locked up. But what we need to do in order to access the iwi kuomo'o, in order to negotiate with these codes, is we must first allow ourselves to become unlocked. Before I do this, I love to also be very, realistic in that it's one thing to imagine, be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna unlock. It's a whole different process when you actually do it. In the age of Pisces, something happened in the age of Pisces called the Age of Enlightenment. And I love the Age of Enlightenment. I think it was amazing. But what the Age of Enlightenment did was it took us out of our bodies. It's all about thought, rhetoric. It was also something that really solidified academia in our culture. And so a lot of us were not even in our bodies. And so the way that I want to support us in fully coming into recognition that we can be in the body and we can unlock is to be very, very practical. And the masculine, we're honoring Tay today with the masculine. So let's start to speak the language of the masculine, starting right now. The masculine loves the language of practicality. So you can imagine, right? And I can imagine that life is in imminent danger. I can think like, I just know it tomorrow, something's going to happen. I just know that on the other side of the world, something is happening to someone else and that's making me unsafe. Like these are all the narratives that we feed ourselves of why we're constantly locked. So let's speak the language of practicality of Uhane. Let's just take a good look around our immediate environment, you guys. Your immediate environment and start to report to yourself what you observe, resourcing all of your senses, all the modalities. I see out of my window, it looks like a beautiful day. Okay, I smell crown flower, puakala unu, because I just sprayed that. I taste some cilantro. Hmm. I hear I hear some birds. Okay, we're taking inventory. We're being very practical. Now, my question to you, as it is to myself as well, from everything that you just observed in the language of practicality, friends, is your life in imminent danger? No. Why are you in crisis? Why are you locking up? As of right now, through the language of practicality, life is not in imminent danger. Therefore, we can allow our masculine to loosen its grip and allow the iwi kuomo'o to become unlocked. With your eyes closed and with that transference that we just allowed to our masculine saying, please loosen your grip. My life is not in imminent danger. I consent to becoming unlocked. I must access the codes of Akasha. I must. with your eyes closed. I will start from the coccyx and move all the way up to the atlas. And remember, when we go to the very top of the iwi kuomo, this also encompasses the skull. So it represents the brain glands and masses. So a lot of unlocking is happening throughout the structure. Landing, landing, landing into the coccyx. As I utter these tones, I invite you to move up the spinal complex with me as we unlock each and every single vertebrae. Journey with me now. Ka, lu, ko, ha, li, on, hi, va, I, mi, ku, ma, she, gra, esh, un, ja, hesh, jut, gol, pa, se, nut, resh, vo, se, imunut, geeste ut, Hex, Ama, Ra. Unlocking, unlocking. Perhaps a sensation you will experience when you unlock is you'll feel yourself become more limber. You'll feel more limber, more flexible, right? The weight has been released. Unlock, 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 unlock. Now, with the second utterance of the tones, the goal is to plug in. Now, because it's unlocked, we can now plug it into Akasha. We can plug it into the grid. We can plug it into the void. We can plug it in to the immensity of the web of this incredible universe. I'll ask us to once again drop down to the coccyx. I will utter these tones as we plug in. Feel the sensation of plugging in to the Iwi Kuomo and all the 33 vertebrae. Journey with me now. Kaluko halion hiva imi kuma shegera esh unja hex jut gol ampat set nut reshvo imunut geiste ut hex ama ra. Plug, 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 plug. The sensation that you may experience is electrifying. You may feel adrenaline even. Just absorb that, integrate that, the adrenaline, the electricity that is being created in plugging in. Take a deep inhale through the nose and oxygenate the entire body. Distribute, distribute, distribute that electricity that is occurring in the body right now. On this third utterance, we're going to focus on actually the very top of the head and we're going to go backwards. And the reason why on the third utterance we're going backwards is because we need to ground this now. We need to ground it. We need to ensure that it remains in the body. In the body, you have access to agency. Do not allow yourself to become fragmented. So starting at the very top of the head, 3 inches above the head to that invisible cord called the aumakua, I will reverse the tones and we will ground. Journey with me now. Ra, ama, hex, geiste ut, imunut, se, vo, resh, nut, se, pa, gol, jut, hesh, ja, esh, gra, she, ma, kumi, I, va, hi, on, li, ha, ko, lu, ka. Yeah. Ground, ground, ground. Allow yourself to be the centerpiece, the very center of this entire universe. Your gravitational force. Mahalo. Mahalo. Thanks, you guys. All right. So, well, 2 weeks ago we met and we discussed the intricacies and the codes of the Unihipili, specifically with the invocation of the Unihipili, which is that HXE. I'm going to turn my sound on so that when I do make these noises, you can hear me. Um, and just a recap of what exactly the HOE is. The HOE is the invocation, the sound invocation that we offer before we go into an actual Ulu design, because what we're doing is we're activating the spinal cord. And remember, like the spinal cord behaves much like an obelisk, right? And the obelisk, one of the functions is it's an antenna, right? And so we're in a way allowing ourselves to become this antenna so we can have proper receptivity. Okay, and so with the HOE, we're activating Unihipili, activating Uhane, activating our Mahakua, so that now our Ivi Kuomo, the spinal cord, is fully online. And as I shared in our previous ceremony and throughout the membership, but for some people, the HOE is Ulu design. That could actually qualify as your Ulu design. You don't need to actually go into one of the proper Ulu designs. The HOE could be your design because even just doing the HOE will actually incite the Wat-et, okay? The oscillation up and down the spinal cord, and then the drip of the pineal pituitary mixing in the claustrum, and then salving all of the 33 vertebrae. The salving of the vertebrae, it's like the sacred knock. Once that elixir touches each and every vertebrae, it's like the secret knock, and that vertebrae is going to offer disclosure. And when we have the entire complex functioning in such a way where we have complete access to Akasha. And with Akasha, and sometimes we call that process Akaku or Kulana, right? Trance. And I just want to remind everyone, trance is very realistic. It's not like about ejecting the body. Because in a proper Wat-et, your body is being scanned, which means that you will never be mandated to function in a way that is unnatural to you. Does that make sense? Meaning I can be experiencing the Wat-et and I can still carry on a conversation. Because it's scanned my body, it says, okay, this is how it's applicable to this very individual person. So when I say things like trance, don't think that we're like, drooling like in a fetal position somewhere. No, trance will be very unique to each and every one of us. And that's based on whatever is being scanned, it's going to accommodate you so that you don't need to check out. You don't need to go into dissociation. Okay? And a recap with first the Unihipili. Remember, it's HXE. It's kulala. Is my sound coming through? Okay, great. And remember with HXE, the propulsion, the sound, and even the mudra, right? The la'alima, it's like cleaning house. It's like purification. It's inciting purification from the incantation of the Unihipili. Then we rise to the occasion of Uhane, and it's TAY. Play with that for a couple rounds. And I want to show you how it looks, right? And because even the way that it looks, it gives it some context. Okay, when I notice what happens with me when I am doing the invocation of the Uhane of TAY. Notice that my chest is meeting my hands. I'm not placing my hands on my chest. The Uhane, the masculine, it has to move. And specifically, what's happening, if you're doing this, try and do that. Let your chest meet your hands. You feel the arching of the back, right? And what's happening in the arching of the back is we're cracking the back of the heart. So with masculine energetics, we're not only attending to the front of the heart. So front of the heart represents our ability to give, okay? And for many of us, that may be our experience. And that may be our experience because we enjoy giving. But for many of us, we may not really enjoy giving. You become depleted, which takes us into the danger zone with Uhane. When we become depleted, we become bitter, resentful. That's where we can come into aggression. And that's likely because the back of the heart, which represents our ability to receive, it's calcified. You're not receiving. You're only engaging in output, output, output. And let's even feel, right? And when I talk about feminine, masculine energetics, I just want to make this very clear is I am a gendered male, but I am 100% feminine and I'm 100% masculine because I know that we have a lot of ladies on today. Know that everything we're talking about with Uhane, you are, you are, you are. That's your masculine, right? Your ability to give and to receive. And so when we're only giving output, 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 and then we're listening to the conditioning of the masculine, which tells us to do that, it says it's never enough. You gotta do, build, 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 create, create, create. It's never going to be enough. And we come into depletion, we come into bitterness, resentment, and then we come into aggression. And then when we decalcify the back of the heart with this art of you can feel the cracking of the back of the heart. This is the actual la'alima of the Uhane. Is our hands are just hovering in front of the chest, but our chest meets our hands. Those of us who have spinal paralysis, who can't really do this movement, it's going to be about you focusing this energy and focusing on the cracking of the front and the back of the heart, okay? So focus, apply all that energy to the heart, and then allow inward gaze of that flexing of the heart moving forward so that the back of the heart is cracked. What I also feel too with this energy that we're engaging in with te is it also feels like resuscitation, like literally bringing something to life. Unihipili energetics, one of the criticisms of just feminine energetics is that it's dissociative, it's crazy, like all of that, right? Because the feminine is literally an oracle. And so it's channeling so much data. It's channeling energy. It's channeling. It's the masculine that gets to apply it. It needs to be applied. If you are not accessing your masculine, then that oracle who's channeling all that energy, it's, I would say, a dishonor to the oracle. The greatest gift we can give our oracle and the goddess is to actually, the dreams that the goddess is offering us, create infrastructure of it. Create a result. For me, when we're in Kulike and I say the mantra of the masculine is hero, it's the me'e. For me, the translation of a hero is one who produces a result. It's as simple as that. And so as you're receiving this precious data information from the oracle, from the goddess, let's see results. Otherwise, you dishonor the goddess. Kulala. As we're engaging in and remembering like the power of exactly what's happening when we apply the invocation and also the actual La Alima, the movement, is there anything you want to share about this?
Yes, aloha. And I also want to introduce just myself in the moment for bringing the mana'o that I'm bringing, because there's many of you in this community. I took a big gestation during the Ulu portal that happened, and there's many new faces in here for me. And so I'm so grateful to be here and receiving. And where I come from prior to this moment is I have been hanai'd into brothers Keoni Hanale's lineage, the contemporary lineage of Lonahiva and the ancient lineage of Mahat. And so I've been in an immersion with brother over the last almost 6 years. And so what I'm translating and bringing through is from the immersion and working side by side in my own integrations of this memory consciousness that's within us and living and alive, and for us to access within our ibikua mo'o, within the ibivai, and within the movement and the succession that happens when we allow ourselves to release ourselves from the rigidity and from the the allegiance, I say, to the mind, and really coming back into the intelligence of the pu'uvai and of the unihipili, and allowing those intelligences to really support and nourish us into the creation that we're experiencing here in the physical reality. So I just wanted to say that briefly before I bring this in, so those of you, as I'm speaking, know where I'm coming from. So what I just wanted to add in this with the incantation, right? And we're looking at vibration, we're looking at frequency, we're creating sound, which the whole point of the HOE is the sound and bringing that online because your sound is going to be your activator, your medicine, your frequency. It's your codes. None of us, brother, can't do this for you. This is not him doing that. This is about you and your relationship to your Uhane, your Unihipili, and to your structure and your waters within your body. And so what I want to add in the incantation of the Tay, really in that recognition that the pronunciation, we're really focusing on that T sound with the tongue going to the roof of the mouth and hitting the back of the teeth and allowing that A to just be like what naturally follows. It's like what's coming with the wave. The T is like what's crashing onto the beach, right? And the A is what's riding the wave into the process and recognizing the sound of A. A is at the solar plex. And so we're coming to, right, we're coming to the base of the Uhane here. And so allowing that like it's coming up through the whole thoracic cavity, right? And coming up so that we're really activating the whole center here. And then with the movement that we're doing is allowing that wave to ride through with the incantation while we're also creating the connection, our human physical connection, right? Our hands to our pu'uvai and establishing that shock, that sensation, that electrical spark between the electricity that runs in the vortex of the heart, but also within your hands, right? And so we're making the entire connection together between incantation, between physicality. So we're weaving the frequency and the physical together. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that because there's an intelligence there as we just allow, not to overthink it. This is like a feeling, listening, flowing kind of experience to release this, what brother spoke of, with the Piscean age, getting into that intellect versus allowing the intelligence of what we are to just actually be in its fluidity. So that's what I'll add.
Yeah, sister, mahalo. Thank you. Yeah, it's like really focus on that sound and what's happening within the body, right? When we make that sound. For me, a personal experience, because I don't want to assign anyone, but for me, a personal experience when I utter, I feel relief. It's like what Kulala was sharing, right? It's like we're releasing and then we're riding a wave. And for me, riding a wave can mean like being held. And so it's like, it's like, ah, yes. And then things just open up. And the great thing about opening up and the perception of that which is opening up means there's lots of resources. Instead of like, there's maybe only a few resources that you continuously do over and over and over again. No, wow, there's resources everywhere. This is a playground, right? Not a battleground. This is a playground, not a battleground. And so resuscitating the Uhane to come into recognition of just this immense field of potential and possibility while also consenting it to play in this field. Because remember when we worked with the Unihipili, and specifically with the pancreas, right? And that is like a gland that the unihipili is gifting the masculine. It's like the sweetness of life, right? And so when we come into the masculine, it's like remember that we can play in this field. It doesn't have to be so hard. We don't have to be so constricted. And so open up. And so altogether, and just for the sake of us, getting a sense of it with our body, locating within our physical body, let's just play with it for a little bit. And then I do want to bring up my screen, some slides, because I just want us to go into a lot more of the context of the thoracic and also the thymus gland, okay? So friends, position yourself with a focus on the thoracic vertebrae, the 12 vertebrae of the thoracic. And remember, one of the unique things about thoracic vertebrae is this is where we branch ribs. And of course, that represents not just protection, which we'll talk about with masculine energetics, but also infrastructure. Remember, as the Unihipili offers that sacred information, the masculine gets to apply it. Create an infrastructure. What does your dreams look like, sound like, taste like, feel like as an artist? Like, let's see results. And so, central focus, inward gaze to the thoracic vertebrae, the 12 actions, consolidating the energy there, and then just begin to play with this, friends. Take your hands with the La'alima, both hands facing towards the chest, not on the chest, towards the chest. And as you utter the invocation of T, let your chest meet your hands. And those of you who have been versed in the full HOE, let's also just work with also the Unihipili. Let's begin to incorporate that. Let's go back and forth between Unihipili and Uhane, okay? Remember with Unihipili, it's erect. It's erect and then arch. Erect, arch. And then let's now also incorporate Aumakua. Remember Aumakua, we take our hands, we scrape our head, and then we push them forward with and that is relax. So the whole body structure with a proper HOE is erect, arch, relax. Erect, arch, relax. Erect, arch, relax. Yeah, that is a full body adjustment. And when I say full body adjustment, I even mean your electricity, your voltage, the synapses. You know what? I liken that to the internal lightning storm, right? Which of course, occurs when we close a circuit. But the internal lightning storm means that anything that is corrupting the system, it will incinerate. Anything that corrupts the system. That's what the internal lightning storm can do. And so if you have any contaminants, any corruptions within the system, when we do the proper HOE and we're doing the adjustment, we're also inciting the voltage and electricity that is going to zap, zap, zap. This is what is in Hawaiian culture is known as Kiha Wahine power. And Kiha Wahine is the dragon goddess. And many people think like, oh my gosh, the dragon, right? She breathes fire and that's so terrible. I'm like, sure, and do you know the skill of a dragon? Because when they incinerate something, they're reducing it to its purest form. That's the gift of Kiha Wahine. She will breathe the fire and incinerate that which is corrupt and reduce it to its purest form. And that's what we can do internally too. When you come into proper skill of the HOE, you have that internal lightning storm. Mahalo, thank you. We're gonna come back to this because I'm gonna play some music before we conclude. I would say it's not really music, it's more like tones, but we're gonna play something and then we're gonna go into our own design with TAY, okay? But first, I wanna add a little context to this conversation. So I'll share my screen now. Okay. So a reminder, you guys, remember we explored 2 weeks ago the power of the sacral, the coccyx, the lumbar, the 14 codes of the Unihipili. Remember one thing that, oh, pardon, I gotta minimize my screen here. One thing that was very interesting, right, is when we decoded and we modernized it, we found the code of HE'e. HE'e, of course, is the primordial octopus that survived the previous universe. And so we came to a conclusion that the feminine invocation also represents lineage and legacy, which makes perfect sense because the feminine is, of course, the progenitor of the mitochondria. And then, of course, in the feminine, the Unihipili complex, the two glands to which we honored there were the gonads. And that is all about, right, procreation. It's about legacy and lineage. But also notice that when you play with the words, we also arrive at hex. Remember when I was just sharing about a lot of the condemnation that's applied to the feminine energetics is that it's crazy, it's dissociative, and also one more that it's a witch and it engages in witchcraft and sorcery, which is true. Because I mean, look, I mean the word hex is in the feminine invocation, you guys. And so the invitation is for you to become a lot more responsible with the spells to which you are engaging in and that you are contributing. We all have an inherent code of a witch. You don't need to be certified as a witch. You don't need to be certified as a sorcerer. You just are that. And when we come into recognition of that, right, that every single moment of our lives, we are participating in this magical field, we all get to remember to be a lot more responsible with ourselves as the witch and as the sorcerer, sorceress. And so I just really wanted to point that out as well. It's a little provocative, but you know, it's one of the things that we need to embrace the feminine. We need to embrace all these parts of our feminine, and it does have the potential and capacity of witchcraft. Okay, now, the Uhane and the 12 actions. Of course, it's called the 12 actions because there are 12 vertebrae within the Uhane complex. Each and every one of these vertebrae holds a code that can be described as an actual action to which the Uhane may resource as an actual tool. And remember, part of the energetics of the thoracic vertebrae is to bring something into form. It's to create infrastructure of something. The dreams and the fantasies to which our Unihipili is channeling to us, it's now the job of the Uhane to apply it into actual life to create an infrastructure. And these 12 actions are these tools that we can resource to support our internal masculine in ensuring that we are engaging in the artistry of our lives. So I want to just go over this really quickly. You guys, it's all on the website, okay? And so if you want to deepen yourself into the actual codes of not just Uhane, but Unihipili and Aumakua, it's all on the website. My book is also published, finally. So it's accessible. I'll have that link to you all in the replay email. But I want to just go over these actions because I really want to honor some of the potential of the Uhane with us, okay? And what is happening when you're honoring that invocation of TAY, you're also stimulating all of these actions, okay? We begin with the T12, and so just remember, like, I go up, right? When I work with the Ivikua Mo'o, I do this because this is what I naturally feel. It's also how my kupuna taught me. You'll notice that in science, right, it's called T1 at the very top because they actually go down, right, in science. In my culture, and for me personally, we go up, and that's why it seems reverse, right? The very bottom will be called T12. So I know that gets confusing a lot when I utter these things, and people are like, "Wait, where are you? Where are you?" We start at the bottom, and that would be considered, according to science, T12. And so at the very bottom, the very opening of the masculine vertebrae is a code of humility. That is the very first code of masculine energetics, you guys. It's humility. We must bring forth our humility And one of the ways to which I have come to understand what humility is just what we're doing with the back of the heart. It's your ability to receive. And the reason why this is important as the opening of the thoracic vertebrae is because you guys, come on, what's the Uhane ultimately receiving? Where did it just come from? The goddess, Unihipili. The codes, the channeling of the oracle, the masculine, the very first thing is I agree to receive that. And that's why the very first action of the Uhane is humility, esh, esh. Then we move up, and that would become the code or the action of objectives in Objectives is where the Uhane begins to organize. So remember, it's receiving the instructions and the data of the goddess, of the oracle, and it's receiving first, and then from receiving, it's gonna begin to organize it. It creates objectives. So, the analytical or the rational, the definition of that is objective thinking. It's objective thinking. And so now we're going to organize what we want to do with the information to which we receive. And then with T10, we come into und, and that's curiosity and inquiry. And so we begin to play with that. This action is we're now going to play. We're going to trial and error it out, right? We're going to like take the risk, see what happens. From there, we go to T9. This is Ja, and that's ingenuity, meaning are you being authentic? I keep saying this, you guys, but the greatest and arguably only sin is inauthenticity. Are you living in sin? The world is going to be shocked by the honest response of that question, which is, I would say a majority of us are living in sin because we are inauthentic. We are not accessing that T9 of ingenuity. We're mimicking, plagiarizing someone else. And so with T9, we come back into ingenuity. We pivot ourselves into our sovereign information, which is that to which we receive from the Unihipili. If you are not receiving, if that T12 is not accessible to you, guess what you're going to receive from? The external conditions. It's called academia. Then you're like, well, okay, I'm going to try on someone else's body work. I'm going to try on someone else's information. If that's, notice how each and every one of them, they need to complement one another for the entire voltage, the oscillation to be clean. From ingenuity, we come to hesh, which is adrenaline, rhythm. We begin to feel, right? That flow of that to which we're now moving, we're cultivating. We begin to feel its movement. You're coming out of stagnation. And then T7, we come into mirth. Mirth is enjoyment. And this was the one that I found challenging for me. And remember, friends, it's not just something you imagine. This could literally be a discomfort, a pain, a clog that you feel in your spinal cord. And for me, the sensation I had was like, wow, what's going on with T7? Wow, mirth is clogged for me. And then I realized, right, I allowed myself to go into proper investigation of that. And I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, nothing is ever good enough for me. I'm always looking for a problem. And then this is the great thing though. I was like, okay, why do we do that? That's very unique. That's very strange. Why do I look for problems? And then I realized I'm like, oh, because I'm super creative with problems. And so the underlying theme was like, I just love to be creative and I want a stimulant. And historically, that to which stimulates my creativity is problems. And so notice I got to attend to that and open myself up again and be like, I don't only need problems to be creative. Then I was able to recover that T7 so that that was no longer a clog. That's just an example, you guys. Then from T7, we go into T6, sensuality. It's all about movement. Sensuality, are you moving or are you locked? Can you move? Are you flexible? Okay. We go into devotion. So devotion is like, how dedicated are you? This is like a junction point in the actions. Like how dedicated are you? Or do you change yourself every day based upon what's comfortable? Or you're too afraid of being teased or made fun of? Or you're too afraid of no one's gonna show up. Maybe you're too afraid that everyone shows up. And so how devoted are you to that code that the Unihipili, the goddess, just transferred to you? From devotion, we go to T4, which is the code, the action of replication. In Uhane complex, because replication is also located in the Unihipili, which means a totally different thing in Unihipili energetics. In Uhane energetics, this T3 or this T4 replication is contribution. It's the energy of a contribution. Do you feel like you're actually making a contribution? That's really important for the Uhane to know that. It's very important. If the Uhane does not feel like it's making a contribution, and remember, it doesn't have to be a production. Maybe the contribution is just for you. But if the contribution is not acknowledged, the Uhane slips into humiliation. Humiliation. From replication, we go to T3, which is permeability. Permeability is, this is how I love to share it in regards to Uhane energetics, is, are you okay with other people being in their power? Or you got to compete? Like when you notice other people thriving, can you celebrate with them? Can you be permeable and not threatened by other people being in their power? Can you be okay with other things being powerful? Or do you need to constantly compete or outdo something or someone? If so, that T3, the permeability, is likely clogged. And so permeability, I can move and withstand the contrast and the differences that exist in this grid. From there, we move to the action of celebration. And those of you who have been to ceremonies with me and Kulala, we've always do the analogy of the masculine gets to eat of the fruit. Right? We tell the masculine, we mandate the masculine, you better grow that tree and you better make sure that a fruit grows. And what happens when that fruit finally grows? And remember all the masculine does, right? It's like it conjures the rain, it dances around the tree, it mineralizes the soil, it does everything to ensure there's a fruit. And then in the patriarchal paradigm, you don't get to eat the fruit though. You got to pick it, you got to give it away to someone else. Ooh, now we're in bitterness and resentment. And so with celebration, let your masculine eat the fruit. Let the nectar drip down the mouth, down the neck, onto the clavicle. Like allow your masculine the experience so it has relationship with that to which it creates. I mean, this is rational. If it doesn't have relationship, it becomes sterile. It just behaves as a production line. So celebration, eat the fruit. That to which you cultivate, enjoy it. And then from celebration, we come into T1, which is the very apex of Uhane energetics, and that to which it actually offers into Aumakua, cervical vertebrae, which is the holistic self, and that is this code or this action known as emotional release. I'm actually not going to give any definition to that. Because I really, really want each and every one of you to at least inquire, like, what exactly does that mean? We've done all these actions, these 11 actions, and we've come to this action, this tool called emotional release. I think that's inquiry you get to have with your Uhane. Okay? If you want witnesses, you can always share that with me, share that with us. But I'm just personally not at this time going to give any definition to that. Okay, so TAY. Let's go into the code of what TAY is, okay? Like we did with Unihipili, we took and we modernized it. So let's do the very same thing with TAY. TAY is an ancient Mu word, clearly. So let's bring it into modern Hawaiian and see what the code is, okay? So in Mu, or in modern Hawaiian, we will not have the Y. And so what we're going to do is we're going to substitute. This is called ka'avale, by the way. This is an actual thing. This is an actual thing. It's like we Hawaiians know that the words are all riddles. And so we know how to play with words to find hidden meanings. That's called a kauna. And so we do the process of the ka'avale. We know riddles. Remember, friends, what my kupuna shared with me. Before you learn how before you learn how to speak, you must first remember how to be a poet. You got to be fluent in symbols, friends. And one of the greatest database of symbols is in the symbols of our languages. And so when we modernize te, we replace the y with a kahako or okina, which is that accent bar, okay? And in modern Hawaiian language, every word must end in a vowel. It's a law of our language. It's a law of the language. You will never see a word in modern Hawaiian that does not end with a vowel. And so we will resource the very first letter in the Hawaiian language, which is the A, and we come with ta'a. Ta'a. So now, what does ta'a mean? Ta'a, and I just confirmed it here, but I'm going to read it with you. To transfer, to operate, to take effect, to travel about. This one's fun. To mourn for possessions. To mourn for possessions. To manage, free fall like a wheel. So just take a moment to consider all of that. And kulala, is there a way that you could like maybe make an assessment, because that's a lot of information there, right? There's a lot of things that are packed into this little word ta'a. Is there a way that you feel like you can relate to it?
The simplest way that's coming through right now is bring it to life. Simple.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
are you right that transfer of the dream to transfer the dream? How are you bringing it to life as you go up through the actions of each of the thoracic codes, through each with precision, right? Because that's also Uhane based, through the precision of each of that, allowing yourself and using that too as a list, right? Like use it as the list, like the next step, the next action. What is the next piece in order to really just bring the dream to life? To allow yourself to be in the mirth of it, to allow yourself to be in the celebration of it, to allow yourself to be in the objective of it, bringing that dream to life and allowing what's naturally trying to move through you in the intelligence and really in that base that brother spoke of in the authenticity. What is authentic to you, right? Not like, because authentic, like it's a buzzword right now massively. And so this thing like, well, I'm just being authentic. Well, you can be authentic in your shitty ass self. Like that's totally fine. But what we're really speaking into, right, is that frequency that is unique, that you came into the body that you have, the codes that you carry, the essence of your library that's held in that EVVI, that this whole what's it, that the whole succession of Ulu, that the Hoi, everything is coming into in again in that translation of frequency. And your Unihipili is offering, that goddess is offering your physical potentiality of a sensational experience within the reality that is this physical expression. And your Uhane gets to bring it into fruition, into the fruit, into the nectar, into that aspect of planting, growing, devoting, being in that, and then you get to enjoy that fruit and the whole aspect of, right, the letting the nectar drip. It's so that you can literally feel that nectar, right, running down your chin, dripping on your body, tasting the sweetness from that aspect. And so when you really like bring it into that sensational aspect, that is the Uhane, feeling all of that, that openness, that non-rigidity, that like, you know, as brother spoken, that patriarchy, it's like you don't get to have it, you don't get to enjoy, you don't get to be in that thing. And so then it's like, what's the point? Why
yeah,
would we want to bring anything to life?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna sit, I'm gonna sit over here and watch Netflix. And not that that's a bad thing, right? We get to take time out. It's like it's fine. But like when we're doing other stuff, because it's like we don't really ever get to fully enjoy, like fully be in the experiential of the expression of our dream and to allow it to be existing here in the physical realm. And then we watch other people sometimes in their dreams, and then it can be really triggering, or it can make us then shut down even further because we don't feel like we have that access. And so that coming into the recognition that you have the codes, and brother here is so brilliantly and incredibly laying them even just in this list so that we can, when we may feel caught up in ourselves, even myself, I have some stuff in my personal life coming up, and I'm sitting here and I was like, oh yeah, I missed that action step. I need to go revisit that action step to support my Uhane so I don't have to be in overwhelm, so that I don't have to be in crisis, so that I don't have to think that I have to figure out how to do the thing, but actually come back to the resource of the dream so then she can, right, guide, she, the goddess, whatever, the dream can actually guide the movement that's being asked of my Uhane instead of my mind thinking I need to control a situation in order for it to happen.
Yeah, sis. Beautifully shared. Bring it to life. It's time to bring it to life. The information, the precious information that the goddess has entrusted to us. Let's see results. And your Uhane is skilled in doing that. And I'm going to bring up my screen again so we can look at these things again. These are codes that have been transferred into the modern Hawaiian language. To transfer, to operate, to take effect, to travel about, to manage. And the ones that I put, not in bold, to mourn for possessions. So there's a saying, and even a modern Hawaiian, like if your wallet was stolen, if your car was stolen, if you lost like a possession, you would say ko ta'a. Like it's an exclamation, like ko ta'a, ko ta'a. And it literally means like I've lost something. And the reason why, and it means something like a material possession. Like you wouldn't say that about a human being. You wouldn't say that about like your nation. You wouldn't say that about your soul. You'd say that like the things I just shared, like a wallet, like, a car, something like that. Like my towel on the beach, it's like, oh, ko ta'a. It was taken. The reason why this is also coded in the word ta'a is because ultimately, remember, friends, this is so important for Uhane to remember. Everything to which we're cultivating, it's not a possession. It's not a possession. You must be fluid in allowing it to complete itself. One of the illnesses of Uhane is we sabotage completions. That's why we live in build, collapse, build, collapse, build, collapse. We build something, it's so great, and we sabotage it. We're like, I'm going to tear that down because we don't know how to allow something to complete itself. There's this possessiveness that has infiltrated the collective, and it's called patriarchy. And so in the code of ta'a, it's also reminding us, right, that it's not a possession. And I love that it says to mourn, right? And so part of the process is, allow yourself to release it. And whatever sensation, emotion you are experiencing when that occurs, that is allowable. But ultimately, it is not a possession. And then the second one that I highlighted there, free fall like a wheel. What I love about free fall like a wheel is it's cyclical, right? And so we're not free falling to like the endless pit and then that's it. Like we can't find you anymore kind of thing, right? No, there's like a sophistication that's happening. And allow your masculine to free fall. Allow the guards to be released. Allow it to free fall, knowing that it is being supported in this grand sophistication. It's free falling like a wheel, right? It has this purpose. There's like this torsion that is occurring. You're not going to free fall and be lost. Another fun way that we can come into deeper relationship with TAY is we can even do the reverse speak of TAY, which is, you guys know, right? Hawaiian language, it's completely comprised of reverse speak, only language in the world. It's fucking miraculous. The designers of our language, it's inconceivable. But our entire language is constructed in reverse speak, meaning that the reverse spelling of any word or name shares its deeper hidden truth. And if we do the reverse speak of TAY, we got to do some of the replacements too, right? Because we have to modernize it. And TAY in reverse speak, we would turn, it would turn into YAT, right? We're reversing it. And so the Y would turn into a W, and then we remain with the A, and then the T turns into a K. And then remember that every word has to end in a vowel. So we add an A, it's waka. Waka is a reverse speak of te. You've probably heard this, right? Sesame Street. Waka waka. Waka waka. But what's fun is that literally means to animate. To animate. Waka waka. And so once again, the masculine is being invited, like, animate it. Materialize your dream. Otherwise, it's incomplete. We have to make it transferable as something that can be animate. Like, otherwise, why are we living in an animate world? Bring that dream into animation. It must materialize so it can also, just like you as a physical body, spiritualize. The other definition for waka, this is kind of interesting, is phallic, which is like, oh yeah, of course, because it's in the Uhane, right? So it has like this phallic kind of like the shape or tendency. But specifically with waka, it's to be limp. It's to be limp. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is so funny and maybe even a little strange is in Sesame Street, Fozzie says waka waka when his jokes fall flat. He's like waka waka, and it literally means a limp penis. So it's a little strange, you guys. Um, Now, you guys, we need to come into conversation of the thymus gland. So, once again, a recap. The reason why I'm focusing on the endocrine system is because my work with the ferns have revealed that we are in a mutation that involves catastrophic dehydration. And that to which is being greatly dehydrated in the physical body is our endocrine system, these glands that secrete certain hormones. And remember, I'm being diplomatic about this because I'm like, perhaps it's because the glands are non-essential. We're mutating to where we don't need these glands anymore. And that would be great, right? That would be like, oh, this is so great. But we also have to consider what's happening in our world, which is the rise of transhumanism. And that perhaps the eradication of the glands is a result of us no longer following the protocol of the organic transhumanism. We're starting to mechanize the human being, where such things as the thymus, as the gonads, as the pineal, as the pituitary are no longer cherished and no longer deemed as necessary. So that's very problematic. And I still want to be as diplomatic as possible because there is a minority who at some point could become the majority. I'm just being completely honest with you guys that actually feel that transhumanism is a proper mutation and that that's what they celebrate. And so I'm just saying that because that is on the table. Remember, it all comes down to consent. And the moment that the collective has a majority consent, that's fair. Whatever happens from that moment forward is fair. If the majority of humanity, of our brothers and our sisters, say that we want transhumanism because it's just more comfortable for us, that's actually consent. And that would be fair for us to transition into that. So now let's feel into the thymus and like how it correlates to these masculine energetics, and even remember those 12 actions, right? And we can feel that the 12 actions are stimulating the thymus. The thymus may be even informing those 12 actions as well. There's a dialogue that's happening with the thymus and with the 12 actions with the thoracic vertebrae. Of course, the obvious thing correlating to the thymus is the T cells, which are actually created in our marrow, right? But it's the thymus that matures the T cells. Do you guys know that T actually stands for thymus? So T cells is literally thymus cells. And it's the T cells that I put in here. It's the warrior of the organic body. It's that to which protects us. And I want to make this clear too, because I like that Kulala was saying, like, like these corny things and these trendy words and like, yeah, masculine protector, like, got it, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But what is also like informing the masculine as a protector? Like, what does exactly does the masculine feel it's protecting? It doesn't just protect because it's like, oh, I guess I got to protect, right? That's like pathological protesters where they don't even know what they're actually defending. They're just like, I just want to protest, kind of shit, right? And so, like, what exactly is the masculine feeling that it wants to protect? If we go deeper into the function of the thymus gland, some things that we'll find there is prosperity and longevity. And I invite everyone to do your own kind of dive into the thymus gland. There's two ways that you can dive into the thymus gland. First is resource yourself. Okay, put down the gadgets. Before you Google thymus and then take in that data, first tune into your thymus. That's what I did. This is all the information I am sharing with you is what I tuned in with my thymus. And then if that feels like you can then match that, then resource the exterior conditions. This goes for all kind of data information. But my invitation is for all of us to come into relationship with the thymus so that you can come into its proper function. I don't want to be assigning anyone anything. But with my relationship with my thymus, it has a lot to do with the codes of prosperity and longevity. And that's ultimately what I'm protecting. Of course, I'm protecting the information, the data that the goddess and the oracle transfers to me. But at this point, we're now creating something of it. And so that is what I'm protecting, the prosperity of the dream to which I'm now cultivating. And I'm not just attending to its prosperity, I'm ensuring its longevity. So I'm no longer in that frenzied build, collapse, where the masculine is just exhausted, overstimulated, overwhelmed, exhausted. Kulala. What are some of the codes of the thymus that you have come into relationship with that you'd like to share?
Mahalo. Okay, I want to, yeah, track it. So, as brother is speaking, right? So, the protection, the T cells, right? And in our bodies and the biological nature, the T cells are going around. We're not doing anything, right? We consciously aren't doing anything, but the T cells are going around in our body, cleaning up, clearing out, removing what it may be considered a threat or what may be not in coherence for our system to be properly functioning for our immune system, right? So it's cleaning up, cleaning house, doing all that. And so if we're looking at that in this level of protection, something that I wanted to kind of like bring into conversation, which like brother and our beloved sister Kapua Hinano spoke about, the pancreas and Unihipili, right? And the uni in the pancreas, it was spoken about how, right, the insulin production to help manage blood sugar and moving through the systems in the body. But part of what's happening, because we're not in the enjoyment of our life, we're resourcing sweetness from the outside, aka sugar, right? And all this food that has all this sugar, and we're having to bring that in because we're not resourcing it naturally from the body. And now the pancreases are like overproducing insulin or not producing enough, and now all the system is out of balance. So if we kind of bring that idea to the thymus, looking at like this level of protection, what was like coming into this natural essence of that protection, that a lot of times our mind, we think that we need to like protect ourselves from like all these things that are going on in the world, and we need to put these shields up and we need to do this stuff, especially on like the spiritual level, right? We got to block and we got to shield and we got to protect, and then physically like protect and do all of these things for the self. But naturally, when our Uhane and our thoracic center is in right relationship and the thymus is in its natural state, what I want to bring into on the energetics of that masculine, that protection that naturally is happening without us even having to think about it, and recognizing that that auric field that's expanding and opening from your thoracic center outward, and that is like clearing, holding, and cleaning up your field naturally, as brother spoke, that all these things that are going on outside in the world that we're like, oh, I can't do that, or I'm feeling that, and we're collapsing and contracting and shutting down and not bringing ourselves into the of our dream. And so recognizing that that thymus is naturally holding this container for that protective field for us to devote, to bring that prosperity and that longevity. And then if you look at the thymus, it's right, it's considered in the spiritual terms, it's considered the high heart. And so the thymus is located at the top of the thoracic center, and it's the in between connection between the amakua, which we'll get into, but between the amakua and the uhane. And so for me, it's really about, as brothers speaking, the prosperity and longevity. The thymus gets to bring about divine transformation. So, in that commitment, in that devotion, and that protecting and holding of the dream, and that prosperity and longevity, it's only going to bring us into that divine transformation of the being that we came here to be fully embodied in our authenticity, if we're going to circle it back to all these words that have been looping through this conversation. So, that's that for me on the thymus.
Yeah. Yeah, mahalo. Thank you so much, sister. You know, the obvious thing that the Uhane is wanting to share, right, is this invitation to take the dream, to receive the dream that is being offered to each and every one of us, and to produce a kind of result. It's to bring it into life, bring it into form. That for me is like the code of prosperity, is when we're actually living our dream. And so giving ourselves permission to experience the dream. And then that takes us into quality of life. For me, that's what qualifies something as for longevity. Because if we're not in quality, that to which the Uhane, the masculine, is resourcing is the bare minimum. It's just the bare minimum. And that, of course, is what we may experience when we're reactionary, right? When I'm just reacting, I'm just whatever, grabbing whatever. It doesn't really discern, and therefore it doesn't have quality. It's going to collapse. And like I'm sharing, and I'm wanting all of us to take real full accountability, right? That might be a piece of self sabotage. I don't really believe that everyone just so happens to find themselves in the bare minimum. I don't really believe that. I feel like many of us can come into proper discernment and access the resources and come into quality. And so overcoming self-sabotage so that we can actually come into quality of life, which is going to allow for the longevity, so that there's longevity also to our prosperity. And so just know that the Uhane, the masculine, it's cultivating all of this as we stimulate with the HOE, with the incantation. We're stimulating all of that, stimulating the thymus gland so that it does support us in prosperity, in longevity. It is protecting our prosperity and our longevity. I invite everyone to, like I shared, go into your own little dive about the power of the thymus by holding counsel with the thymus directly. I have so much information I could transfer to you, but at this moment it seems a little insignificant and obsolete because I don't want to give too much information and then you become a sign and be like, oh, I guess that's what the thymus does. Yeah. And whatever you know the thymus does. So begin to resource it, have a relationship with your thymus. For me, when you cultivate relationship with something, there's an opportunity for it to actually respect you. That's what you want. You want something to actually respect you. And that requires proper engagement with something, okay? All right, I'm aware of time, and so I really want to honor the availability for all of us to do the t. I'm gonna play some frequency, and then let's do it for about 5 minutes, you guys. And then Kulala is gonna bring us out with is it the F ball, sister? F, yeah, the F ball for
F
the
sharp.
thymus. F
F
sharp, yeah, for the thymus gland. And so let's go into 5 minutes of t. You can practice TAY lying down, but just remember your chest has to move up. Okay, so if you lie down, don't take your hands and tap them. on the chest. No, your chest has to meet your hands. And so if you're lying down, just make sure that they're meeting. Remember, the sensation is the cracking of the back of the heart so that you can receive. And ultimately, the first thing we get to receive is the dream of the Unihipili. We have to receive our sacred instruction. Okay? Um, is everyone okay? Do I need to clarify TAY? Everyone's got that right? TAY, letting the chest meet the hands. Okay, let's do this, you guys. Let's create this beautiful vortex of Uhane energetics, of masculine energetics. Let's really cultivate the space for our hero to be present with us. I'm going to play the music, and I invite all of us to just begin to play with it, okay?
And just to also bring in a little more frequency of your own, we're just going to bring in the sound of awe. With this, it's opening the pu'uvai and the heart, the sound of awe. Taking a nice, deep, full breath into that thoracic center, into that pu'uvai, feeling that resonance, the space that you've opened. And maybe just placing both hands for just a moment on your pu'uvai, on your thoracic center, just to acknowledge before you open your eyes, just establishing that connection, that activation. Tuning into your thymus, establishing connection with that gland. Prosperity, longevity, divine transformation live here. Breathe. Devote. Have mirth, humility, celebrate, and allow for that emotional release.
Humility, objectives, curiosity, ingenuity, adrenaline, rhythm, mirth, sensuality, devotion, replication, permeability, celebration, emotional release. Esh, un, ja, hesh, jut gol ampat set nut resh. Mahalo. One thing I really love to do, you guys, is when you have this sort of electrical experience, is just like let your body, yeah, distribute. Ish, ja, hesh, jut gol ampat set nut resh. Yeah, mahalo, mahalo. I trust that you will continue your own sort of exploration and inquiry into thoracic vertebrae. Um, on the website, I do share those 12 actions, and that could be something interesting for you to review. Also, the invitation is for all of us to come into a deeper sense of awareness and function with our thymus and begin to attend to that to ensure that the hormones to which the thymus is offering remains very full active for you. Um, I would love to, before we complete today, I would love to call upon one Lahui member who is willing to give us an assessment of what was covered today. So that's very specific invitation, right? Not to go into story, just to offer an assessment on behalf of the Lahui. Who's willing to make an assessment of what was shared today? You can raise your hand. Really? Uhanes. Uhanes. Maggie, what is the assessment for what was covered today?
Okay, these are the headlines. We must live the dream. The dream is not, how do I say this? The dream is not cheap. We don't cheaply experience the dream. The dream is expensive. And what is the expense of the dream? It's our action, it's our devotion. It is showing up when we don't want to, when everyone says this isn't a valid dream. You don't get to dream this dream. And we stand in our Uhane, and our Uhane says, I open my heart wider to myself and to you, and I dream my dream into this reality that I see, that I feel, that I hear, that I experience. I live my dream because I choose myself. I honor my life by living my life. And my dream, it is protected by the divine and by my thymus. My thymus is saying, I will protect your dream for you. You are valid in dreaming your dream. It is valid, but you must act. You must act. And that action begins with opening your heart and asking your heart, what is the step? What is the next thing? What is the one small thing? The one small thing you can do, not the 10,000 things you can't. Claim your space on this earth, my friends, my people, myself. Claim this beautiful existence for yourself and for us, because we want to also see your dream. That's my that's my share.
Yeah, beautiful, Maggie. Don't you love how Maggie concluded too, right? It was an invitation of that permeability. It's like, you guys, check this out. You deserve to live your dream, right? But we also deserve that. You know, your contribution, that to which you will flow through, we deserve it too. So you're showing up for yourself, but you're showing up for everyone as well. I love that. Thank you so much, Sister Maggie. Um, Kulala, mahalo, my sister. I love you completely. Sister, do you have like a 60-second assessment that you would like to share before we conclude today, sis?
I feel like I've assessed, and Maggie, cousin, she's my cousin. We share the O'Day lineage, actually. So yes, sister, love you. You crushed it. You said it. I think for all of us, but for me, you said it. So thank you.
I love that. Kulala. That's so Uhane masculine. But like it's already been assessed. Did you hear me? I just spoke throughout this series. It's been assessed.
Complete. I'm complete. I'm complete.
Lahui, I feel like a great way for us to honor the ceremony and to conclude and to distribute is let's all unmute ourselves and repeat over and over and over again. I will prosper.
Hmm.
I
I
will prosper.
I
I
will
will
I will
prosper.
will
prosper.
I will
I will prosper.
prosper.
I
I
will
will
I
I
will
will
prosper.
prosper.
I
I
will
will
prosper.
I will
I will
Prosper.
prosper.
I will
I will
Prosper.
prosper.
I will
I will
I will
I will
prosper.
I
I will
will
prosper.
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 I will
I will
prosper.
prosper.
I
Prosper.
will I will
I
prosper.
will prosper.
I will
I will
prosper.
prosper.
I will prosper. I will I
I
will
will prosper.
prosper. I will
Prosper.
prosper. I will prosper. I will prosper.
I will prosper.
I will prosper. I will prosper.
I will
I will
I will prosper.
prosper. I
prosper.
will prosper.
I will prosper.
I will
I will
prosper.
prosper.
I will prosper. I will prosper. Hey, I will prosper. I will prosper. I will prosper. I will prosper. I will
I will
prosper. I will
I will prosper.
prosper. I will
I will
prosper.
prosper.
I will prosper.
I
I will
love you
prosper.
completely. Aloha ma.
Aloha ma.
Thank you.